Eyewitness News NightBEAT.
As the bodies of 7 American servicemen killed in Afghanistan begin their journey home, a Connecticut family mourns the loss of one of its own. Good evening. Dozens of Connecticut residents were killed on September the 11th, and now for the first time, the state has lost one of its own in the war being fought because of 9/11. Air Force Sergeant John Chapman died in a bloody battle in Afghanistan, and tonight he is being remembered in his hometown of Windsor Locks. Channel 3's Andre Hepkins is there now with the story. Andre.
That's right, Dennis. And John Chapman is being remembered by all these American flags you see that surround and drape the house in which he was raised. Inside that house, a Connecticut family is mourning the death of an American hero.
How dangerous the jobs really were. I prayed that it wouldn't happen, but it did.
And John Chapman's
Terry
father,
Giccone, knew one day her third-born child, John Chapman, would die for his country.
Breaks my heart.
Monday night, a painful possibility became the tragic truth for a family in Windsor Locks.
Johnny was a son any mother would be proud to claim as her own. He was so kind-hearted. He loved his family dearly.
John Chapman was one of 7 U.S. servicemen who were killed in eastern Afghanistan Monday. They died as they defended themselves against fierce Taliban and Al-Qaeda attackers. Chapman was a member of the Air Force's Special Operations.
People don't know how hard it is to get into that. He started out with about 1,500, I guess, starting the whole training. When the final graduation, there were 7.
John Chapman joined the military in 1985, 2 years after he graduated from Windsor Locks High School, where he excelled at soccer.
He was a darn good little athlete. He made varsity all 4 years. And he was also a really good diver. He made varsity that, and he was 3 years all-state in that.
And that boy became the 36-year-old airman who now leaves behind this widow, Valerie, 2 little daughters, Madison and Brianna, and a Connecticut family who will miss a son, brother, uncle.
Awesome brother. All of us, you know, my sister, my other brother. Everybody's gonna miss him.
John Chapman's father, Eugene Chapman, lives in Michigan, and I am told that he and dozens of family members and friends will try to make it to his funeral next week in Windber, Pennsylvania, where his widow is from. I am told that ultimately a memorial service will be planned for here in Windsor Locks when the family has some time to mourn and plan for that service. Dennis, back to you.
Channel 3's Andre Hepkins in Windsor Locks tonight. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, it has been another day of fierce fighting. A U.S. commander there says hundreds of Taliban and Al-Qaeda fighters were killed today as U.S. troops pressed on with their offensive. And tonight we have the first pictures of what the Army is calling Operation Anaconda. They were taken by a U.S. Army cameraman over the weekend, showing soldiers from the 101st Airborne. Military commanders say 1,000 U.S. ground troops, along with helicopter assaults, are taking their toll on the enemy.
We kill people. They're not roaming around freely like they were. They're dug in. They're hunkered in.
Now, today, the Pentagon ordered 5 more Cobra attack helicopters into action after a number of Apache helicopters were damaged by small arms fire. A security breach involving a single pair of scissors led to hours of delays today at Bradley International Airport. A janitor found the scissors inside a bathroom at Terminal B at a security checkpoint around 6:30 this morning. The terminal had to be evacuated. Planes on the ground actually turned around, and more than 1,000 passengers had to be rescreened. Passengers on 8 flights, which had already taken off, were then screened at their destinations. Tonight, the FBI says it is leaning towards a domestic source for the anthrax by mail attacks. Anthrax spores that killed 5 people, including 94-year-old Ottilie Lundgren of Oxford. Investigators believe she received a piece of mail that came into contact with an anthrax-laden letter. Today, an FBI agent told a gathering of crime investigators that scientists are trying to analyze the exact strain of anthrax that was mailed. While agents believe the anthrax came from a domestic source, they have not been able to rule out an international connection just yet. Students in West Hartford face a new test this week, one for tuberculosis. An unidentified student at Condit High School has been diagnosed with the potentially deadly disease. Health officials say parents and students, though, should not be alarmed. The student did not show any symptoms of the disease, and if caught early, TB can be treated with antibiotics. Well, the UConn women are #1 in the nation, the winners of 32 straight games. And tonight, They look to add a Big East tournament crown to their resume as they prepare for yet another run at a national title. Channel 3's Joe Tessitore is in the Eyewitness newsroom with the highlights. Joe.
Well, Dennis, night after night, we have told you about a blowout win by the UConn women. Tonight, we will do the same, but it's time to start putting it all into perspective, if that's even possible. The UConn women won their 9th straight Big East title tonight. They are now 33-0, and let's show you how they did it. In Piscataway, New Jersey, they wasted no time. Tamika Williams, 5 seconds into the game, and you had a sense where it was going against BC. Asia Jones on her way to a big night, soon to be MVP, and the Big East Player of the Year got into the X. Sue Bird showing her skills. UConn exploded to a 19-point halftime lead. Now 9 straight Big East titles for the Huskies. 96-54 over Boston College. They are 33-0, and our Eric Clemons has been with the UConn women all week long in New Jersey. He joins us now with all the post-game reaction. Eric?
Joe, I asked the question last night. I guess I'll ask it again tonight. How good are these UConn women? How good can they be? 2 pretty good teams the last couple of nights. They beat by a combined 86 points. That tells you how good they are. Proved tonight after the Big East tournament, all 5 starters named to the all-tournament team, and of course Asia Jones is the tournament's most valuable player. We will hear from all of the ladies coming up later in sports, and this team, Joe, right now looking pretty unbeatable as I stand here, but they are focused and determined to win one at a time, 6 more for a perfect season in a national championship.
All right, Eric, we will check in with you later. We will have the extended highlights, get more from Eric later in sports. Plus, we'll tell you what comes next for the UConn women. Dennis, back to you. Big night.
Yeah, it was. Channel 3's Joe Tessitore in the newsroom tonight. Plans to raise the state's minimum wage have cleared a big hurdle. The legislature's Labor and Public Employees Committee today approved a 30% increase, a 30-cent increase, excuse me. Under the plan, the wage would rise now to $7 an hour on New Year's Day. If the hike wins final approval, Connecticut would then have the highest minimum wage among the 6 New England states and New York. Currently, Massachusetts is the highest at $6.75 an hour. Also under consideration at the state capitol this week, new restrictions on teenage drivers. Among them, limits on how many people could pile into a car with a new driver behind the wheel. Channel 3's Leigh Frillici is here now with that story.
Dennis, here's a statistic for you. 1 in 9 teen drivers are involved in a car crash with injuries within their first year of driving. It's numbers like that had parents and teens meeting in Avon tonight to hear about a new bill. If passed, it could mean new rules of the road for teen drivers.
This scene could one day be illegal. More than one teen getting into a car with a newly licensed 16 or 17-year-old driver behind the wheel.
You have a very dangerous combination of an inexperienced driver and someone who is still young and developing their perceptions of risk and those kinds of things.
David Preuser has been researching teen driving statistics for years. At a meeting in Avon this Tuesday night, he talked with parents and new drivers about a new bill that would curb teen drivers within their first 6 months. He feels the bill, if passed, would prevent scenes like this one, where 5 teens lost their lives in Meriden this summer.
Young drivers going in are roughly twice as likely to be involved in a fatal crash as are experienced drivers.
Add passengers to the mix, and a 16 or 17-year-old driver is more likely to cause a crash. With 1 passenger in the car, there's 14% more risk. Add 2 passengers to the car, 67% more risk. And 3 passengers or more, 88%.
That this is a law that will help protect their teenage sons and daughters.
The bill, if passed, would allow a 16 or 17-year-old driver within the first 6 months of getting their license to have only 1 passenger in their car under the age of 21. The idea is to reduce distractions. Some teens say this bill crosses the line.
Honestly, I think that that's a little too restrictive. It doesn't take into consideration at all circumstances that could be around.
Other teens say the merits of safety far too important to take a back seat to their social lives.
See all these facts and statistics, it's just amazing, like everything that goes into just getting behind a wheel.
Another part of the proposal to increase the minimum number of hours behind the wheel instruction from 8 to 12 hours. The bill is being raised by the Transportation Committee. It's still in its early stages. And tomorrow there will be a public hearing at the Legislative Office Building in Hartford.
No doubt some contentious debate. Channel 3's Leigh Frillici tonight. In California, the voters have spoken about Gary Condit's political future. However, we just don't know what they said yet. Polls closed about 10 minutes ago, and the ballots are being counted right now in a Democratic primary for Condit's congressional seat. Now, the congressman is trying to get reelected for a 7th time, but his conduct during the Chandra Levy investigation has hurt him in the polls. If we get the results before the end of this newscast, of course, we'll bring them to you right away. They certainly are chilling images, some of the last ever taken inside the World Trade Center. Still to come here on Eyewitness News this Tuesday night, we will show you the extraordinary work of 2 French filmmakers who managed to document the events of September the 11th. A very special delivery in New Haven as a woman helps bring her own granddaughter into the world. And this is also ahead.
Can a specially made blanket help prevent sudden infant death syndrome? I'm Ellie Hong with the story coming up on the Health Beat.
You're watching Eyewitness News on Channel 3, coming to you live from Hartford to Colchester to West Haven. This is Connecticut's news station.
Need a car? Click the Buy a Car button on WFSB.com to enter the GHADA used car lot. It's an easy way to find great cars at great prices from local dealers you can trust.
You're watching Channel 3 Eyewitness News Night Beat with Denise DeCinzo, Dennis House, Miles Muzio, and Joe Tessitore. This is Connecticut's news station.
This Sunday on Channel 3, CBS will air the only known video shot inside the World Trade Center on September the 11th. And tonight we can show you some still pictures from that video. They were taken by 2 French brothers who were filming a documentary on firefighters the day of the disaster. They rushed to the scene and went inside the first tower to be hit. The video they shot captures images of firefighters and civilians, many of whom died on 9/11.
The feeling in that lobby was, you know, it's going to be a long job, a tough job, but, you know, they'll put it out. They're firefighters.
Now, Jules later escaped just minutes before Tower 1 collapsed. Brother Gideon was outside rather. Actor Robert De Niro, who witnessed the disaster, hosts the program, which airs Sunday at 9 o'clock right here on Channel 3. Meanwhile, today at Ground Zero, some of the state police dogs from Connecticut that helped in the days after the disaster were honored for their work. Members of the state's K-9 unit, along with their counterparts from New York, returned to the site of the World Trade Center. They accepted a medal from Britain for animal gallantry. Actor Christopher Reeve was on Capitol Hill today, speaking out in favor of medical research involving cloning. The paralyzed actor testified before a Senate committee on what's called therapeutic cloning. The procedure produces embryos as a source of stem cells, which have then the potential to treat spinal cord injuries. Opponents are concerned that such technology could be used to clone a human being.
Now, some people are able to accept living with a severe disability. I am not one of them, and that is why I have a keen interest in research, and I'm deeply disturbed by unreasonable attempts to block scientific progress.
The House passed a bill last year banning all forms of human cloning. The Senate has yet to pass a similar measure. There's a new product designed to give parents peace of mind and cut down the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS. It's called a sleep sack, and HealthBEAT reporter Ellie Hong shows us how it works.
A new sleeping bag for babies could not only keep them warm, but also save their lives. The sleeping sack is specially designed to reduce the risk of SIDS. Ashley Friedrich preps a nursery ready for her baby girl due in just a few weeks. Only a year ago, she and her husband mourned the loss of their first child, Sadie, who died of SIDS.
It is absolutely the worst thing that a parent could ever go through, is to lose their child. That's what's scary. You don't know if it's going to be your child that dies or not.
The Halo Sleep Sack wearable blanket is a first product endorsed by the SIDS Alliance. It takes the place of fluffy, loose bedding implicated in some SIDS cases. The wearable blanket zips from the top and has no sleeves, nothing to block the breathing of babies like 7-month-old Peyton.
Babies who sleep in these sacks sleep better. One, because the blankets are not getting bunched up on their bodies, but also because they're cozy.
Experts say babies breathing in their exhaled carbon dioxide is considered a risk factor for SIDS, which is why it's recommended infants sleep without toys and without the popular bumper pads surrounding them.
It's the best setting for keeping a baby safe.
The father who lost his baby to SIDS invented the sack. It comes in a variety of sizes and colors and includes a Back to Sleep logo to remind parents of the safest sleeping position.
If you can see the logo, then they're in the right position.
Ashley and Stephen Friedrich hope the sleep sack catches on.
I think it's great. I think more people need to know about it and need to be aware of, what can actually happen.
The Halo Sleep Sack blanket sells for about $30. On the HealthBEAT, I'm Ellie Pai Hong, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Now write to us here at the station or log on to our website to find out how to get the sleep sack at WFSB.com and just click on HealthBEAT.
Now, your Doppler 3000 weather with Miles Muzio.
Well, good Tuesday evening, everybody. We have got some warmer weather coming, but there's a warm front that's going to bring a little bit of flurry activity with it first thing tomorrow, and I've beefed up the snow just a little bit. Here's the forecast first for tonight. We've got mostly cloudy skies and temperatures in the mid-20s and a little bit of light snow tomorrow. It should only be a dusting, though. I don't anticipate any major problems from tomorrow morning's flurries. And along the shoreline, we could see a little snow and rain mixed, otherwise cloudy skies tonight. Right now, we've got partly cloudy skies, but it's beginning to cloud up from west to east. 29 degrees, 47% humidity and a south wind, and the temperature has slipped to almost into the teens here at Salisbury, currently 20 degrees. 20s most spots, and right along the shoreline we are in the low 30s at this hour. Other temperatures around southern New England look about like this. We're in the 20s in many spots. Kind of cool in Providence and Hyannis down into the low and mid-20s. But out to the west of us, we're actually beginning to warm up just a little bit. Temperatures into the 30s at Philadelphia. And the dew points, and this is very, very key here, are very, very low. And that tells me the air is still pretty dry. So any snow that tries to form will begin to evaporate before it gets to the ground. It's this dry air we have. But here come the clouds. They're slowly beginning to move in from the west. And it's this little area right here which is beginning to develop in the Ohio Valley. There's a warm front, and usually we get snow just to the north of warm fronts, and here comes that warm front. So I'm expecting a little bit of light snow. And we've got this temperature gradient between 20s to the north and 40s and 50s to the south. The snow should begin right around daybreak tomorrow. Here comes that warm front with a little bit of light snow. And then it finally passes through, and tomorrow we're going to see some partial clearing in the afternoon. And things will then begin to warm up, as you might expect. It looks pretty nice on Thursday. There's a cold front coming, but most of the day, Thursday, should be pretty mild. Here's the forecast for tonight. Look for mostly cloudy skies and temperatures holding in the upper teens to the mid-20s. And for tomorrow, a little bit of light snow, and the Dow is down, but I'll just tell you that we've got the temperature going up for the next couple of days. By Thursday, we're up into the mid-50s, and a little cooler on Friday as a cold front just touches us, but then much warmer on Saturday up to 61 degrees. Once again, a little bit of light snow tomorrow morning, flurries, maybe a little bit more than that, and it shouldn't be more than a dusting.
What a winter we've had, huh?
It's been crazy.
It has been. All right, thanks, Miles. Life in the ER has certainly been a hit on TV. So how about life in the maternity ward? One cable network thinks it will, and they have cast a Connecticut hospital in the starring role. That story is straight ahead. Plus, we'll head back to Piscataway, New Jersey for more on the UConn Women's Big Night. That and more when we come back. It's a sizzling night on the ice at the Hartford Civic Center. Christy Yamaguchi, Tara Lipinski, and a host of Olympic and national champions performed in the Target Stars on Ice. The all-new production is in the middle of a 61-city tour. Connecticut fans of cable television got a treat just a couple of months ago when the Learning Channel focused on Yale New Haven Hospital for their show Trauma. And now they're back for the series Maternity Ward. As Channel 3's Tasha Jamerson tells us, they began with a pretty wonderful story.
His name is Miller, which is my maiden name, my father's last name. Carson, which is a family name, my father's middle name.
Not only is there a long history behind little Miller Carson Salvo's name, his birth is making some local history as well. All caught on tape for national cameras.
7-4.
Yay! The Learning Channel's popular series Maternity Ward is now roaming the halls of Yale New Haven Hospital, choosing this ward for one of their upcoming segments.
The private community staff is pretty excited, the residents are excited, the nurses are excited. Across the board, everybody's really looking forward to this experience.
The crew here 24 hours a day, trying to capture those one-of-a-kind stories that make TV great. And they luck out on their first day of shooting with little Miller Salvo, who was delivered by his grandmother.
Grandpa's got you. You look like your daddy, doesn't he?
A nurse midwife here for years.
So proud of you. You did it.
Susan Miller was able to deliver her daughter's baby this morning after 16 hours of labor.
I had a lot of support from my family, but my mom, I have to say, I'm very blessed.
So what was it like being the first one to touch your grandson?
It was wonderful.
Like this?
It was just, I can't even describe the emotion. It was just wonderful.
Tasha Jamerson, Channel 3 Eyewitness News on the Night Beat.
Now, the show's crew will be at the hospital for the next 6 weeks. After that, the segment should air within a couple of months. Good for Mrs. Salvo there, because a lot of women say, get that camera away.
I have to laugh there because my wife Rebecca would never have a video camera near her after giving birth. Well, we will give you the latest concerning the shakeup with the Red Sox. Plus, it was a big night for two local teams with postseason dreams. It wasn't just UConn tonight. Yale needed some serious March Madness help. We'll tell you what happened. And Eric tells us what's going on in Jersey.
Yeah, Joe, breaking news. This just in. The UConn women are pretty good. We'll hear from the 9-time Big East Tournament champions coming up.
Can't believe it, Eric. And the Butler did it. Another big honor for UConn's big man on campus. NightBEAT Sports is next. We'll get back to the UConn women in a moment, but first, the Red Sox owners have struck again. This time, manager Joe Kerrigan was fired. The door's still open for Kerrigan to return as a pitching coach. The Sox will use Mike Cubbage as the interim manager. They say they're looking for a more experienced full-time manager before the season starts. Now, let's get right back to the big story on the court, the UConn women. They own another record. They handed BC the most lopsided loss in the history of the Big East tournament. The Eagles felt the pressure right away. Sue Bird would take advantage of the turnover. And look at this. Little stop and pop. 4-zip UConn. The outside game was working well, too. Diana Taurasi, UConn by 11. Back to Sue Bird, going coast to coast. On her way to a 16-point game. Just running away with the Big East championship. Asia Jones had another big night. 19 points and 11 assists. UConn up by 16, second half. Conlon. More. 29 assists. That's a Big East record. It was time to celebrate. Yet another championship win. 96-54. Asia Jones, your MVP. Eric Clemons is in New Jersey with the UConn women. He joins us now. Eric, was this pedal to the metal for the Huskies or just cruise control yet again?
I think it's both. I think this team is able to put the pedal to the metal and never cruise, and that's why they end up winning these games by 20, 30, 40 points, Joe. You know, I don't know if anybody, at least around the eastern part of the country, even thinks they can play with this basketball team. What a game tonight, and fittingly, the MVP was the homegirl, Asia Jones, who said defense is the key to this team's success.
I think just defensively, we completely took teams out of their game plan. We didn't let teams run their offense, and we understood exactly what they wanted to do before just coming into the game. Like, we know Villanova wanted to shoot a lot of threes, so I think we did a great job of taking that away from them. And BC, we know that they want to get into the lane and just try to drive past our guards. So I think our guards did a great job of taking them out of the game tonight.
I sense right now that we have not a sense of urgency, but definitely a sense of confidence going into the tournament, into the Big East tournament, also into the NCAAs. We came out ready to play for this tournament. We knew we wanted to win another championship, and I can sense that amongst the team.
It's just started. That's the way I feel. You know, we've kind of broken down the season now. We had this little mini tournament, and now we have 3 mini tournaments ahead. You know, first, second, you know, Sweet 16, Elite 8, and then hopefully the Final Four.
How good are the top-ranked women? Again, good Villanova and BC teams they beat by a combined 86 points. Joe, all we can say from here in Piscataway is wow. back to you in the studio.
All right, great job in New Jersey, Eric. So what's next for the UConn women? Well, they sit and wait until Sunday. That's when they get that #1 seed for the NCAA tournament. The question is, will they be on a regional that goes through Milwaukee or Raleigh, North Carolina? As for the UConn men, good news for Karan Butler. He was named the co-player of the year in the Big East today. The 4th Connecticut player to win the award. Brandon Knight from Pittsburgh splits it with him. He averaged nearly 20 points a game. The Yale Bulldogs haven't made the NCAA tournament since 1962. Take a look at the scoreboard tonight. They still have a chance to do it because Penn beat Princeton. So now there's a 3-way tie in the Ivy League. Yale plays Princeton Thursday in Philly in a playoff. The winner then plays Penn. So Yale is still alive for the NCAAs.
Wow. Good enough. All right. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for watching tonight. Our next news is at 5 a.m. We'll see you then. Have a good night, everybody.